Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Critic.Reading.Writing. My name is Ato Kwesen, and I am Professor of English and Chair of the Department of African and African American Studies at Stanford University. Today's episode will focus on Lauren Buekes Zoo City. The novel starts off by being an exploration of the idea and principles of the mashavi, the animal, or the zoos. Several theories of aposymbiosis are proffered, and the novel appears to be centered mainly on that. Aposymbiosis is when two different species live independently of each other, but is each affected by the life cycle of the other. This is illustrated in the novel by people carrying animals, insects, and birds, typically on their shoulders, that are somehow taken to be an expression of their inner essence. They are the animal. However, as the novel progresses, it veers increasingly into questions of Muti, or black magic. Here, the main interest is in how the power of the animals, once separated from the human hosts, can be harnessed by an individual, in this case, the music mogul Odi Huron, to augment his already fearsome power. The idea of harnessing spirit animals has already been explored in Philip Pullman's His Dark Materials, where it is the Magisterium that wants to separate the demons from their hosts in order to capture the demons' energy to augment the Magisterium's hegemonic authority and power. In the universe of His Dark Materials, however, the world is divided into different dimensions that require passage through special portals. The Magisterium believe that by harnessing the power of the demons, they will also be able to control the portals and thus all the intersecting dimensions. As we shall see, the relationship of animals and humans in Zoo City is extraordinarily complicated, but at heart it obliterates the sharp distinctions between species and rather illustrates a form of interspecies ontology in echoes of what we saw in Amos Tutuola's My Life in the Bush of Ghosts. The Muti sections of Zoo City also involves the separation of the mashavi from their hosts. But this is accomplished primarily by murdering the host and seizing their animals. The gruesome ritual at the end of the novel involving the twins Song and Sbo is designed to harness the ritually killed animals that have been separated from their hosts, but also simultaneously to generate the process of animalization for Sbo and to get him to take on Odi's animal, which is the giant crocodile in the dark pond in the pit of Odi's house. In each instance, the operative principle is the harnessing of the animals that are seen to be first and foremost existing in the liminal space between spirit and reality. And it is this liminality that is seen to constitute their potency. It is the same principle of liminality that makes the narrator of Tutuola's My Life in the Bush of Ghosts so attractive to the various ghosts that want to capture him to serve their interests. And yet, at the same time, the idea of Muti, used for evil but not for good, introduces a very dark ritual dimension to the narrative. Because if so much bloodshed is required, not for the governance of interlinked worlds, as in Philip Pullman's His Dark Materials, but simply for the augmentation of an individual's potency and power, this spins the narrative into an exploration of the relationship between spirit beings, magic, and evil. And it is here that a number of problems arise in the novel. For if the fight is purely between good and evil, as seems to be the case when Zinzi December is pitted against Odi Huron, Amira, and Mike, then who really wins? On the balance of things, evil seems to be the overall winner. Several peripheral characters have been killed. Song and Zbo have been brutally sacrificed, and Zinzi's boyfriend Benoit is badly injured and close to death. It is true that Odi finally is killed by his own crocodile animal, but Amira and Mike escape completely without any sense of remorse, but rather gloat as they do so. Zinzi herself has to flee South Africa on an itinerary that takes her finally to Rwanda. What is the point of the story then? At a certain level, the novel seems to be primarily a negative assessment of the practice of Muti, which is engaged in South Africa as a form of insurance against the unpredictable and the unknown. The novel seems to be condemning Muti and its practitioners throughout, including the Sangoma Zinzi goes to consult during the course of her investigations on Song's whereabouts. The Sangoma she consults appears to be highly sophisticated, as he is shown to speak to the ancestors on his cell phone. And yet the principle of his Muti requires blood from the sloth, Zinzi's own animal. This then establishes the principle for the harnessing of the power of the mashavi or animals. But another problem then comes into view. Lauren Buekes is a white South African, and yet a central character is black. Benoit is also black, and the peripheral characters that are murdered in the novel are all black. What then is Buekes' relationship to the belief system she's trying to explore? Is she an anthropologist of the esoteric, or is she herself a participant observer of the belief system that she is so much at pains to explore? It looks, from the overall dark message about Muti that she puts out, that she is simply an anthropologist and not really a participant observer. In other words, she is fundamentally writing about Muti as a privileged outsider who does not see the possible complexity of the belief system. This is in direct contrast to, say, Chinua Achebe, who in Things Fall Apart gives us a complex and yet non-romanticized view of a viable traditional 19th century Igbo culture. There's a big difference between the two attitudes. That being said, what renders Zoo City's interspecies ontology especially productive is the fact that the animals are ultimately on a quest for understanding the undertow as a quantum manifestation of non-existence, a psychic equivalent of dark matter that indeed serves as a counterpoint to and bedrock the principle of existence. Some echoes from the Magisterium's intense desire to understand and control dark matter in Pullman's novel is evident here. But in Zoo City, it is the animals themselves who are on a quest for discovery because of how much they are burdened with a lifelong anticipation of shadow self-absorption. This state is experienced as an irrefutable and ever-increasing sense of oblivion, which is commonly manifested in an intense obsession with self-annihilation. We are told in the novel that this is regularly misunderstood by clinicians and the media as an exclusively negative state, when it is really an attempt for the asymbiotes to take charge of their own existence. In other words, the zoos consider their animals as portals into something that undergirds the entire universe, the understanding of which will not only give them freedom from fear, but also a profound understanding. A simple formula that might be assigned to the novel in general is that animals are us, not to be controlled, disavowed, or denigrated, but as a way of gaining access to their privileged liminal location as the very locus of the meaning of the universe itself. Thank you very much. Please remember to check out the suggested readings in the episode's description. And if you like this episode, give a thumbs up, subscribe and share. Hit the notifications bell so that you do not miss out on any upcoming episodes. And enter your comments in the section below. See you next week.